The man who was debating Charlie Kirk as the shot rang out at Utah Valley University has now spoken out, and he shocked a lot of Democrats with not just his statements, but his admission that Charlie Kirk and what has happened has caused him to challenge his own beliefs. Take a look.
I don't know how to make this video. It's been a rough 24 hours. This last person to talk to Charlie Kirk, here's maybe a better vantage point of me. So I'll give you some background. I made a video maybe about a week or two ago, I think. I'll play clips so it's clear about what's going on.
Oh my God. So Charlie Kirk just said that the suspected Minneapolis school shooter was trans. First Nashville, now this. How many times makes a trend? Probably the only way to do this is to have an ungodly amount of time to parse through all of the 6,000 mass shootings that have ever happened in the history of America. I mean, Charlie's counting on the fact that only a psycho would do all that. Trans people are surprisingly and extremely nonviolent. Now, while I was scrolling Charlie Kirk's video, I noticed that he was touring America, and he was touring universities specifically. And one of these caught my eye because one of these is the university I'm currently going to.
Obviously, that university was UVU, where I currently go to school, and I'm getting a degree in mathematics in. I'm not going to show a video of what happened, mostly because I can barely watch it. But yeah, here's what I asked. I asked, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Too many. I said the number's 5, counting or non-counting gang violence. Pop is heard. Shout out to CNN for fact-checking me and saying I'm right. First off, you sick psychos that think this is the answer. It's not. I don't know what else to say. It's not. It's awful, and a father doesn't have his kids anymore. Charlie had 2 kids and a wife. And like, not to make this about me, but I have 2 kids and a wife. And if my 1-year-old boy, like his 1-year-old boy, will grow up without memories of his dad, it's a tragedy. And it's hard to grapple with. And I'm part of a community that's struggling to grapple with it right now. And people have obviously pointed to the irony that the point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was right before he got shot. And that only makes sense if we stay peaceful. And as much as I disagree with Charlie Kirk, I'm on the record for how much I disagree with Charlie Kirk, but like, man, dude, he is still a human being. Have we forgotten that? Are we crazy? Like, I stand by so little of everything that he said, but one of the things that he stood by was conversation. And I also just if you ever feel like you want to comment with your little conspiracy theory on what happened on the event, you are not helping anything, actually. I've been talking to the police. We're good. Thank you. And if you're salivating about what happened, don't. I don't know if any of my audience is, but if you are, you're not part of what I'm trying to build here at all.
Yeah, so he obviously was the last person to speak to Charlie Kirk, and the shots rang out. And so a lot of people online on both sides speculated that he may have been involved in maybe setting up Charlie Kirk so that shot could come out. I mean, what are the odds that that shot was fired immediately after a question about transgenders and mass shooting? Well, as you heard there, he is speaking out openly against this. He claims he's spoken with the police, and now that he's been posting all over social media, and apparently has been for quite some time, he's easy to find, and I just trust in the professionalism and the thoroughness of law enforcement to do their job and make sure that, yeah, truly, this guy wasn't involved. But a lot of leftists are surprised and are upset that he's actually speaking out against the people rejoicing, the people celebrating. On Blue Sky, people, really thought that this guy I was going to be one of those cheering. Look, I've covered this extensively on the video yesterday. There was the mystery man who was exposed for literally pumping his fist in the air, smiling, just looking jubilant that Charlie Kirk was shot right in front of him. This was in the heat of the moment as the crowd was ducking. Secret Service members, teachers, professors. The list is dozens now of people who have been fired. A dean at Middle Tennessee State University. So you can go left and right. But again, this is bringing me hope, similar to what happened yesterday when President Trump was at Yankee Stadium and there was a huge round of applause for him. In deep blue New York City, it really spoke to me on the anniversary of 9/11 that, hey, people can still come together, people on both sides. There's still, there are still good people on both sides. And I think that's what we're seeing here, even on The View. As leftist and radical as they are, I think many of you, even though you despise The View, will be surprised that this is what they said about Charlie Kirk.
I hope it doesn't have a chilling effect, whether you're left or right, on your ability to speak your mind. I know the one thing we all agree about on this table, we all share our viewpoints, and we should be able to do that without fear.
Well, that's our bread and butter here. So, of course, it's very important. I agree with everything you're saying.
Well, and also, although we don't all align with his views, what I deeply aligned with was he said, when we stop talking, that's when things get bad. The irony of a man who would go across the country to college campuses, that's the pinnacle of thought differences. It's where you're supposed to have conversations, would go, and his series was called Prove Me Wrong. He would talk to people openly who disagreed. It's what we try to exemplify every day and say, this is what we need more of. So the irony of being violently killed while saying those words of what we need more of in this country, I know all of us agree on that part, as there's never a place for political violence.
Of course, actions speak louder than words, and we'll see if the women of The View and if people in the mainstream media and the Democrat leaders do better, right? They've been calling President Trump a fascist, a would-be Hitler. They've been calling his supporters deplorables and garbage for years. As I've been saying repeatedly, I've been beating this drum. What other outcome could you possibly expect if that is the message that you're putting out there? I talk about off-ramps all the time, usually in regards to war, right? When it comes to the Ukraine and Russia, or what's happening in Israel and Gaza, you want an off-ramp, or else the war, the violence just keeps continuing. And I think the same thing can be said here when it comes to the rhetoric and the temperature. If things need to cool down, we need to take the soonest off-ramp, or else it's hard to imagine how this gets better. Well, of course, while some people seem to have learned their lesson, that's not all Democrats. Stephen King actually got in trouble for making up a lie about Charlie Kirk. So Stephen King said, quote, he, of course being Charlie, advocated stoning gays to death, just saying. And he reposted a tweet by Jesse Waters. This, of course, is not true. This is from Charlie Kirk. I believe marriage is one man, one woman. Also, gay people should be welcome in the conservative movement. As Christians, we are called to love everyone. I will always stand against people who wish to establish their own personal values as a reason to kick others out of our movement. For the record, Stephen King has now deleted that tweet and apologized for it, but a lot of people have spoken out and saying, I hope the Charlie Kirk estate sues you for defamation and slander, because that obviously was not true. There was no basis for that. In fact, Charlie Kirk has a long history of being welcoming towards gay individuals. Just take a look at this moment from one of Charlie Kirk's turning point events.
I'm a gay conservative, and I just want to ask you, what do you have to say for people like me who kind of feel like, I guess, it's kind of hard for gay conservatives because there's not a lot of us. So, like, what do you have to say to other gay people who need to realize, like, they do have a choice?
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the conservative movement. I don't think you should introduce yourself just based on your sexual attractions.
No, I agree. I like, because
that's not who you are.
I like to be thought of as a person, and
for sure, you are a complete human being, and I'm sure you treat people well, and you're studying something. So I want to get away with this idea that you're gay anything. I just think that we have gone a long way in the negative direction in this country, where we act as if the most important part of your identity is what you do in the bedroom. It doesn't mean that much to me, but if you ask from a perspective as a Christian, I don't agree with that lifestyle, but politics is about addition and multiplication. I imagine you agree with a lot of what we talk about.
Absolutely.
Right? Strong borders, strong country, and for that, we welcome you into the conservative movement.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that right there, the left preaches tolerance and empathy. that right there to me was tolerance and empathy personified. Now, over on CNN, they also were saying that this is hypocritical of the right to be mourning Charlie Kirk, because what about the political deaths that have happened on the left? But they are missing one key detail. But before I show you that clip, I would like to acknowledge USMC Car, 1505 Ova, Jeremy 2001 Happy, Lizzie Tom, and Bob Paul as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I am so glad that you enjoy. I think you're going to realize immediately what key detail CNN left out of this, but we'll revisit at the end of the clip.
I just want to note, though, I mean, you cannot omit, just a couple months ago, Democratic Minnesota state representatives were assassinated.
By a left-wing lunatic.
No, not by a left-wing lunatic. And so I do think that, I think the point everybody is.
The Democrats can try to deny that all they want, but the reality is that left-wing lunatic was appointed to work for the state of Minnesota by Tim Walz. Don't forget that this person also had no kings protests. In other words, no kings, referring to President Trump because the left is portraying him as an authoritarian dictator, king type figure. No kings protest posters in their vehicle. Does that sound like a conservative to you? I very much doubt it. So they want to pretend. Look, the reason there wasn't as much outrage over that was because it was happening on a statewide basis. And conservatives, too, were outraged, by the way, saying, hey, look at this violence. It was the left that wanted to ignore it because it was one of their own. Charlie Kirk, of course, being a national figure, of course, the outrage is going to be on a different level. It's not because people are cherry picking and being hypocrites and just saying, oh, that death doesn't matter. It's just, you know, when someone is of a certain public stature, they naturally are just going to get more attention. That has nothing to do with trying to politicize a tragedy. And then, of course, you throw in the fact that, yeah, the left tried to ignore it because it was one of their own. It makes sense why that situation, that also was a tragedy, but did not gain the same sort of national attention. As always, though, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics, and I would love to hear from you. So, what do you think about the video from the man who was the last person to speak to Charlie Kirk live? Do you think he was genuine and sincere in that, or do you think he's just trying to save face because he doesn't want to face an angry mob? Let me know your thoughts down below. By the way, a message to a lot of people have emailed me, Facebook messaged me. I'm not ignoring you. I've been rushing out videos. I've been out doing birthday celebrations today, so it's been hard, but I will respond as soon as I can. I do want to assure you I've seen your messages, and even if I haven't responded, it's not personal. It's just I will get to it as I have time on my end. So thank you for understanding. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.